guys.
Hey everyone.
Welcome back to Grief Uncensored, episode 8?
I think 8. Yeah.
8.
We're back after another week off.
Yes, I got my wisdom teeth removed, so we had to take a week off. The inflamed mouth situation was not good for the podcast. Life gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, and it's okay. But we're in a new location today. If you're watching video version, as you can see, we're gonna kind of be bouncing around.
Yes.
In the next couple weeks because we're going through some life changes. So yeah.
Exactly. So no pink couch.
No more pink couch.
We might need to do a whole rebrand. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, stay tuned for the rebrand.
Yeah, we'll be doing that soon.
But this week, what are we talking about?
Oof, this one is going to be an interesting episode. It's going to be about spirituality and the afterlife. We'll touch upon a bunch of things in this realm, such as, different religions, what they have to say about the afterlife overall. We'll talk about mediumship. We'll talk about psychics. We'll talk about reincarnation. We'll talk about signs, potential ways that your loved one tried to reach out to you, and angel numbers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anything. We're talking about life beyond the physical realm today.
Mm-hmm. Good way of saying that.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about some responses that people wrote in.
Yes.
And they shared how their loved one reaches out to them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's just get right in. Obviously, we do our
There's so much to say.
Yeah.
And what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that every time we have a mini little disclaimer, but it just has to be said every time that we're just talking about kind of our experience and our opinion, and there's no reason that you should feel like obligated to agree or we're not saying that this is all facts. We're really just there's no really research this time, maybe a little bit, but otherwise, this topic is very up to the individual to decide what they believe. And
it's one of those topics that there's no concrete evidence for any of this stuff because
answers. It's the world questions. It's the
world questions, the life questions that really don't have answers, and religion kind of seeks to answer these questions, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things that there is no scientific evidence for. There's no,
there's no concrete evidence. You can't.
Exactly.
It's not like an undeniable truth.
Yes.
So, it's really just up to you and what you feel is right or what comforts you.
Exactly.
So I think that's a good start to talk about religion.
Yes. So, there are a full range of religions, and we're really not going to go into specific religions. We'll probably talk about certain things about them, but overall, all religions have one thing in common, which is they seek to answer some questions, like we just said, that about life beyond the physical realm. What happens after someone
mostly
passes.
We're going to be talking about afterlife.
Yeah.
In the religion, because religious beliefs often emphasize what they believe in the afterlife, because that's one of the main questions that we have as humans. Right,
because it honestly brings such a surge of chaos if you just are nihilist and you're life is meaningless. After you die, you just die and that's it, And certain times that can be kind of comforting in a way, because you can be like, life is meaningless, I can do whatever I want. Or it can be kind of the opposite, where you're like, life is fucking meaningless. What the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
So religion kind of is answering the great unknown questions so that you can have a certain sense of comfort, and it brings people together. It's a way of building a community to feel safe with. And just kind of ease that sense of chaos amongst people. Yeah, uncertainty. That's why a lot of people turn to religion, especially after a big loss, or when they're questioning things about themselves. And usually a lot of people turn to religion when they're in a place where they feel very desperate and
vulnerable.
Vulnerable. They need to hold on to something to believe in, and that's where religion comes in.
Yeah. And I mean, depending on like whether you were like raised a certain religion, like it brings you up growing as a child like with a certain belief system, and you can either like hold on to those beliefs and, you know, create your adult life around what you grew up learning and believing in, or you know, sometimes tragic events or just big life changes kind of pull you away from that belief system, and maybe you're brought into a new belief system. And I mean, that's kind of what happened with me, and I know that's happened with a lot of other people, especially when you deal with a really big tragic loss. Because it really puts in question all these things you used to believe, and you used to rely on, you know, the promises that God makes, no matter what religion you practice. So, in a way, I really value religion in that way, because it offers a lot of hope and, you know, just faith and comfort.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why it exists ultimately. And you can say anything you want about religion, but the reason that it exists is, one, to feel comfort, and to find comfort in a community of other people who believe in the same thing.
Definitely.
You know?
Because once you learn that, you know, there's not one right religion, there's not one group of people who are practicing the one true religion, you know? We all around the world practice and believe in different things that ultimately stem from the same type of belief system, which is that faith. There is a higher power that we have no control over. And I would say that would be the case for most religions, almost all of them, with a few exceptions. But when it comes to spirituality, it contrasts religion in the way that you're not tied down to one type of belief system. And a lot of people who are religious will say that they're spiritual, because when you're religious, you're really connected to, you know, this power, God, energy source, you know, whether that's whoever, sometimes it's a human figure, sometimes it's like more of like an alien animal figure, you know, depending on your religion, but it's all like this, I don't want to call it father, because I don't think it's masculine, but
this source
energy, but a lot of religions do think it's masculine
energy,
and some think it's feminine. Which I'm just going to call it energy for the sake of this episode. Just for now. And when you're spiritual, you feel close to this, and you feel like maybe it talks to you, or it's helping you, and it sends you blessings and help in your physical life. And then when you're religious, you also feel that way. But you can also be spiritual and not necessarily be religious at all. So it's like a Venn diagram, you know, where you have some things that are the same and some things that are just not the same at all.
So there is some overlap. You can be both spiritual and religious, but you could also just be spiritual or just religious. But yeah, in terms of my own journey, I guess, my spiritual journey since the loss, or just in my life, it was pretty much atheist. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. My whole life, I didn't grow up with a religion. You know, I celebrated Christmas, but it wasn't because of Father Christ or anything. Like, it was just because it was like a cute holiday where I got presents. Like, you know, and I'm not saying that in a way to like make fun of any religions. Like, that's just how it was for me, you know. And so when you grow up without a sense of religion, I mean, I think for a while I wanted to be Christian so bad. Like, I went out of my way to like buy a Bible, and because I just grew up around people who had this faith, and they went to like religion after school and whatever. So I just kind of wanted that for myself. But ultimately, when I grew old enough to like kind of think about these things, I was like, I don't know. I was kind of atheist. I just was atheist. I didn't really believe that there was a God, or that there was a higher power, or anything like that. But since the loss, I think that I'm leaning towards, or not leaning towards, because I think I'm fully agnostic now, in the sense that I definitely believe that there is a greater power. I just don't know what that power is or looks like. I like to believe that it's like kind of like an energy source, like kind of like the sun, like a warm light, because
that's what a lot of people talk about, like like mediums and people who experience.
And this one person, Dolores Cannon, who's like a hypnosis therapist, and she has done so many case studies with individual people, clients, whatever, and she's written a lot of books. But basically, when these people are under hypnosis, oftentimes they talk about their origin outside of like literal birth, but they talk about coming from this warm, encompassing light, where they are feeling so welcomed, and it's just like a wholesome energy. And that's just kind of like what you envision like heaven to be like, if that makes quote unquote heaven, you know, if you believe in that. But yeah, anyway, I just believe that there is like this energy source. You know, people are always like, oh, we're just the universe experiencing individualism, you know, like we're all just literally like all of us are just part of the universe, and we're not we're
not different, we're all connected in a way.
It's like the hand, like this is the universe, and then we're like the fingers are the individual people, but it's all connected with the hand, if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like heaven, and I think we should talk about that a little bit, because in some previous episodes we mentioned how heaven, you know, is like a very comforting thought to a lot of people, because it represents a space where you can be with your loved one again, and you can be reunited with them. And it is a beautiful concept, and a lot of people in my life mention it a lot to me, and, you know, on Facebook posts and stuff like that, and, you know, how they're just waiting to be in heaven again, and so where they can see my mom, and, you know, they rely on the fact that there will be heaven again, to be with them again. And, you know, that offers a enormous sense of relief and comfort.
Right.
Because if you believe in that when you die, whenever your time comes, you'll be able to be with all the people that you've lost, I mean, that lifts off so much weight off your shoulders, you know? Whereas me, I lay in bed thinking about all those things at night. And I'm just laying in bed, like, you know, crying and just, you know, or like tearing up, but just about the thought of the reality of never seeing her again. And, you know, the concept of heaven and hell exists in a lot of different religions. But like we were talking about earlier, it's kind of hard to picture, you know, a gatekeeper saying yes, no, you're allowed in heaven, you're not, you're going to hell, you're going, you know, and, you know, especially when maybe your person wasn't like perfect, and, you know,
most people aren't, so
yeah, of course. And so a lot of those things, you know, it gets complicated. It gets really, really complicated when you lose someone, because you know, it's not just like this perfect person who you get to see in heaven again. And I mean, maybe it is for you, and maybe it's not. And, you know, I personally believe that everyone gets to go to this quote-unquote heaven that we're talking about.
Right.
And that's the promise that we get to have, right? Even though we have no answers to anything about the afterlife that are concrete, like, I think most people who aren't completely, what did you call nihilist?
Yeah.
That they don't believe in that like any afterlife at all. I think, but other than those people, we all kind of think that at the end of the day, you know, at the end of your life, there is somewhere that we go back to.
Right.
I don't necessarily know what it is. I don't think anybody does. Right. I used to think that it was like me frolicking in the park with my dog that died, and my mom that died, and my grandmas, and my, you know, everyone.
And it might be, but we don't know.
And, you know, but we don't know, so we can't really say that it's there 100%. And then,
exactly.
And so you know, because of that, because it's all so unknown, we're left with all these unanswered questions, and also with the reality that we have to hit every single day, you know, which is, of course, that your loved one is not here, and you've already had your last moments with them on Earth. And yeah, that could be a really, really daunting.
It is. It really is. And like, going back to what you're saying about like, there's really no proof, like, these are extraordinary claims. They're probably the greatest claims that you could make in anything, like that there is a world outside of this physical dimension. But extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and it's just, you know, there's skepticism, there's science, and there's things that kind of, like your gut, like contradicting. these things. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's just so hard to, like, there is really no concrete evidence for any of this stuff, and it's just, like, that makes it even harder to believe because you kind of just have to believe, you know?
Yeah, it's like having blind faith in the universe. Like, you know, if you don't practice a certain religion, like, you inevitably have this blind faith that this is all has to be for something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll never know unless you somehow have the answers to the universe. But I think even people like mediums with these certain, you know, extra senses, like, even they don't really have 100%. You know, and still everyone sees it and perceives it differently and describes it differently. So, you know, I mean, I think mediums maybe give us a little insight into that if you do believe in mediumship. Yeah. Do you believe in mediumship?
I do. It's honestly it's really easy to say, like, oh, this is fake, just because a lot of people who are seeking mediums obviously are in a place where they're desperate and they're very vulnerable. And they're seeking in contact with someone. So there's obviously these people who are mediums. Some of them can be frauds, you know. They can be just leeches who are trying to, you know, get money, scamming people of money who are like grievers and like desperate people who are just like trying to hold on to anything. So it is like a really dangerous, you know, like playing field, because you don't know who's legit and who's not. Yeah. So
especially because their customers are among the most vulnerable of our population.
Exactly. And now it also exists the internet, where you could literally easily just search up the person's name and then find out like information about them. And so it could be easy to fake, but also at the same time, like, there's certain things, like we said in the last episode, when we were answering questions, like, there's certain coincidences that are just too weird to, like, explain. Of course. For example, on Netflix, there was this docuseries about death called Surviving Death, and in there's 2 episodes about mediumship, and there's this one medium, Laura Lynn Jackson, who actually was an English teacher at my high school, which is a weird fact. I never had her, but she was an English teacher at my high school. Just wanted to throw that out there, just for the affiliation, for the slight flex. But she had, in the show, she had met with, like, 2 separate clients. The first client, you know, she was kind of like, oh, was it your father that passed? You know, you had a 50-50 chance. It's either a father figure or a mother figure. So, like, you know, it's kind of easy to be like, oh, yeah, you know, father. So, and then she was like, I'm sensing a J name. Like, you know, John is probably John Doe. Like, John is literally, like, the easiest name to, like, fake. So that one, I was like, maybe not. The second one, however, was this lady who had lost her daughter, and she was like, she said all these things before that I was getting literal goosebumps from, because it was, like, crazy. But then what really sent it over the edge was she was like, you have something in your purse. You have something in your purse, right?
She, and knew that she was holding something in her pocket. Yeah. And that she took it out of her purse. Like, the medium knew that.
It was, like, the craziest thing. And those are the kind of things I'm talking about when I'm talking about coincidences that literally cannot be explained besides the fact that this shit must exist.
Exactly.
You know?
And the coincidences that you're talking about also remind me of, like, when people see signs from their loved ones. Like, it's so close to home where you just you have to believe that it's from your loved one, because, you know, why else would there be a random, you know, exact this figure that she used to have on her dresser, and then it's like right here on the sidewalk, you know, whatever it is that your sign is, and we'll read them in a little bit, you know, the numbers, whatever it is, there's a million things that can happen.
Yeah, also Laura Lynn Jackson, she has 2 books. She has a book called The Light Between Us and Signs, the Secret Language, and those are really good books if you want to explore more about the life outside the physical dimension, and, you know, kind of like the interstellar, how love transcends both time and space.
Not the interstellar.
So if you want to explore that a little bit more, I think these books would be a really good place to start.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and also, do you believe in reincarnation?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think...
What?
I sounded like when I was like, maybe. I was Josh Safdie's views when you were
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. That's why I started laughing. Okay. Let me... Reincarnation.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
Reincarnation, I think, maybe. I don't know exactly what I believe, if I'm being completely honest. I think I go back and forth on what is possible and what isn't, from my opinion. I think I do believe in reincarnation sometimes. I think maybe they can transcend to, be this bird that just, came up to you at the park, and that doesn't mean that they are the bird and that their lifespan is the bird, but,
right.
I think it's possible that their souls can transcend, or maybe not exactly like their soul goes into the bird, but they can manipulate the energy in the way that they can have this bird come near you, or have this license plate pull up right next to you with their initials, like they can kind of manipulate the energy in a way that makes people do things that has the signs cross into your path.
I feel that.
So I think reincarnation, in the sense that you come back in your next life as a beetle, like, I don't know, like, I'm not going to sit here and speculate on whether that's true or not, because I have no idea. Some people do believe that, and I think that's that's one interesting
I definitely
possible
believe in reincarnation.
But I think maybe it's a little bit more intricate than just like, you spin the wheel and you get what you get, and maybe you're a dog in the next life or something. I think
for sure.
I think it's very intricate, and I think it's just so much bigger than we can even imagine. Reincarnation. I think, of course, you don't just live one life and then that's it and that's you. No, you live a million lives as a million different types of people, and maybe you're not even human. And
and then also there's like this whole thing about like when you're a child, and your child kind of just has people always say like you have an old soul. That kind of alludes to they've been here before.
Oh yeah,
like
for
they've
sure.
done this shit
100%, yeah.
And I don't know, there's certain things like about that, like I said, like about coincidences that you can't explain. For example, I forgot what show this is. It might be in Surviving Death, but basically this young kid, he's describing like a previous life that he used to live, and he was like an actor.
Kids are like, I died in World War II.
Yeah, so he's like literally like 6 or something, and he's giving claims that he used to be an actor in Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. He has given over 200 statements, and they had did a whole investigation on this, and eventually they couldn't quite pinpoint who he was, like whether he was like a big actor at the time, but then he said his name one time, and then they cross-referenced a bunch of things and discovered that there used to be an actor that was a background actor in Hollywood with that exact name. And then they did a bunch of research on his life, and then they cross-referenced all the statements that little kid had given, over 200 of them, saying I live with my wife, I sleep with multiple women, I live in a fancy house, I drive 2 cars, blah, 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 blah. And then I forget the amount that he had right over, but out of the 200, it was a lot of them. It was probably about 50. I want to say 50% of them were right, which is a lot. And the statements you were making were not just I have, they were not just general statements. They were very specific about this guy's life. And also, not to mention it's this little fucking kid saying this shit, where does this little kid get this information about this man who lived in the 50s?
I've heard a lot of stories similar to that, where this kid just comes, he's 3 years old, 4 years old, and they just start talking about their previous life, that they died in a fire scary, or something.
But also
but they
leads you to believe that.
Yeah. So in that sense, if that is what reincarnation is, I definitely believe in that. There's certain things, again, these coincidences that you can't deny.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really know the exact the exact path of reincarnation, how it happens, what, I know different religions seek to answer it in a way. I think Buddhism has their own reincarnation beliefs, and so does Hinduism, but like I said, I don't really know the specifics of that, so I'm not going to get into it, but I don't know. I think that's just one thing that I definitely believe in. I don't know how, but, like I said, there's these coincidences that are really hard to explain.
Totally.
That just lead me to believe that it must be true.
Of course, yeah.
Also, I want to say, even though I know Einstein wasn't fucking talking about this when I say this quote, so don't fucking, come for me right now, but, energy is never created or destroyed. It's transferred. And in that sense, the energy your soul has, or your soul has to go somewhere. And that's why I believe in reincarnation. Whether you're fucking in the air, like in a cloud, or whether you're just like in the universe somewhere, like I don't think that once you disappear physically that you're gone forever, ever.
Yeah.
Maybe physically, yes. And in that form, definitely. Because, yeah, where's my dad? He's not here. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about his soul, and like it must exist somewhere, because like you said, these signs, the way the universe manipulates certain things to like come into my life and feel like it's like him reaching out to me. Mm-hmm. That leads me to believe that his energy is somewhere.
Not to mention like when he visits you in your dreams and you can really feel him there.
Oh my god.
Not to mention.
Yeah, we have to talk about that too. Is like a lot of people, did we talk about this? I forget, but whatever. Basically, like, a lot of people who have experienced a profound loss have these very significant, profound dreams where it's, like, unlike any other dream. I did talk about this, I remember now. Yeah. Where you can literally feel their presence and, like, touch them. I remember in my dream, I literally hugged my dad. And I was, like, talking to my friend. I was like, he's fine. My friend was like, oh, is he okay? Like, why is... Because he was, like, running around, following us all over town. And I was like, he's fine here. And it was so weird, wow. Like, waking up and remembering me saying, like, he's fine here. And I literally hugged him in my dream, and I felt his skin. And it was, like, it is really sad. You wake up, and you're like, whoa. You're, like, shook, yeah. Honestly.
I was going to say, like, it sounds nice that, you know, in a way... You know, I actually really like what you said, mm-hmm. The Albert Einstein quote mm-hmm. about... Is that Albert Einstein?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Like, energy is neither created or destroyed, it's transferred. Mm-hmm. And that if you don't believe in spirituality or religion, but you do believe in, you know, science, you know, that's one thing that you can kind of think about is that person was energy. We're all energy. That's how we're, you know, alive. And you're right, like, that kind of says for itself.
Yeah.
And again, I know he wasn't talking about the afterlife, but in a way it can be transferred to the fact that, you know, they don't just die and energy disappears. It right. goes into something, it's created into something else. And like when we have these coincidences, when they show us the signs, when they come up in your dreams, mm-hmm. you know, you feel like, okay, they're still up there or down there or somewhere, maybe right next to us and we just don't see, mm-hmm. you know, they're here somehow. Yeah. And that's very comforting. But also at the same time, and when you were talking about your dream, it reminded me of this. It has a really sad side to that too.
Yeah,
because
of course.
At the end of the day, you know, I only get those signs once in a while. I don't get them every day. I don't get those dreams every night. You know, I wish I did. But they're few and far between. And, you know, it's really heartbreaking because you can't always be in touch with this other realm, this other side where your loved one is. And, like, you know, it truly is heartbreaking because I love talking about this right now, and I was feeling a sense of comfort when you talked about how energy is transferred. They don't just cease to exist. It goes somewhere. But, you know, and I love thinking about the dreams that I had with her and, you know, all the weird coincidences that happened, but I wish I had more of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that'll never make up for the fact that they're not here in the physical world.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it is like a sad, like, balance between, like, trying to hold on to this faith and then also, like, this faith kind of, I don't know. I guess it might be, like, gaslighting yourself a little bit, too. Just being, like, this faith, me holding on to this faith is, like, in a sense, like, desperate. And, like, you're kind of like, oh, like, I'm just, like... You know, you start gaslighting yourself and, like, mm-hmm. skepticizing everything, and you're like, oh, like, is this even real? Like,
yeah.
And then you kind of just, like, are left in this loop where you're, like, chasing more and more. Like, this guy in the Medium, in the episode about the Medium, he was talking about how, like, you know, he's seen so many mediums again and again, like, over and over. But at the end of the day, like, it is an extraordinary claim that requires extraordinary evidence, and so he gets stuck in this loop of that wasn't enough, and he needs more. And more and more and more. And, you know, his doubt kicks in. And he's like, oh, I don't know, though. Is that really what it is? And then, like, you kind of just are stuck forever chasing evidence.
Definitely.
You know?
And, like, when you wake up from a dream with your loved one that felt so real, like, you're brought into this moment from where you felt just 2 seconds ago, you felt maybe relief and love and, you know, they were there, and then you wake up and immediately you're, like, brought back to this, like, reality where they're not here, and, like, that moment that you just had in your dream is over. You can't, you know, connect back to it during the day. And, you know, that's the same for when you feel the sign. Like, when I see a sign for my mom, I have a moment where I feel at ease and I feel at peace and I feel really connected to her. But those moments are fleeting. They don't stay. And as special as those moments are, it's just as hurtful when they go away, because you're still met with the same reality. They're still not here. That wasn't enough. And I think that might be what the guy was talking about in the show, where, like, he can talk to his dad or his grandfather, you know, through a medium as much as he wants. But, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no reconciliation for the loss.
Right. Yeah, that's all so true. And it's just, like, that's what leads me into a loop of going into nihilism, where I'm like, everything's meaningless.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to see that in a better light, rather than, like, oh, life is meaningless, I shouldn't try. Like, I'm kind of trying to see that in a way that's like, life is meaningless, so I can do whatever the fuck I want, it doesn't matter, you know? But it is a dangerous tightrope to walk.
Yes, it is a fine line.
Yeah. But also, I think you should read that quote that Megan Devine said. Our queen.
Yeah, so Megan Devine.
We talk about her so much.
I think we've actually talked about her in every single episode.
Yeah, Refuge in Grief is her Instagram. Go follow her, please.
Megan Devine's writing class, she puts them every month, I think. And it's on Facebook, and you sign up, and she basically gives you writing prompts. And one of the writing prompts is about what we're talking about right now. And she writes that the truth is not a single one of us knows what happens after death. Whether we are still us in a way, cruising interstellar space, thought form, or light. Whether we return elemental to the earth that held us up, with no more knowledge than is necessary to be soil. Whether there is something else entirely beyond any concept we create. None of us know, and none of us can know, that there is a deeper, wilder universe beyond our knowledge. Well, that's true enough. We know this just from evolving, understanding our life on Earth. When it comes to this human life and anything bigger, this is all we know for sure, that there is much we don't know.
Right.
So, of course, she says it so eloquently, but, I mean, she's just really saying that, what we've been saying all along, which is the main thing that we know for sure is that we don't know anything.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, I think I want to say Socrates, he said, like, the wisest man says he knows nothing. And that's the truth, is that we all are students of life, and we literally don't know anything. And anybody who acts like they know more than the other person, like, no, we all don't know anything. And there's so much that we don't know. And there's so much that we will never know. And we'll spend our lives seeking answers to these great questions, and we just will never know. So yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things that we said today that honestly have me a little bit spiraling at the end of this, just because, like we said, there is no answer. These are questions that we're still, all of us are trying to figure out. And that obviously leads you feeling this existential way. And that's, I think a lot of people fight this existential feeling for the rest of their life, and that's why they turn to religion, to give a sense of answer.
True, yeah.
And
it does provide that.
It does provide answers. Yeah. It does provide answers, because you don't have to think, and you don't have to think about it, because the answers are given to you.
God's promise.
Yeah, no, and the answers are given to you.
Yeah. We talk about having existential thoughts and existential crisis, like, every single episode. I think we've actually mentioned it every single episode. So this is kind of, like, getting into what we kind of talk about. Like, when we are mentioning existential thoughts, you know, this is kind of it.
Yeah, because profound loss has you questioning all these things. Like, you're like, well, where the fuck are they? Are they even here still? Like, you know, we have to think about these things. And it's like, a lot of these things, like we've been saying for the past fucking 40 minutes, is that there is no answer for these things. And you can circle and debate all you want, all day, all year, all your life. But at the end of the day, there's no way to know for sure, which is a scary thought. But at the end of the day, you can believe in whatever the fuck you want, is how I kind of see it.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think, like, honestly, just believe in whatever you want to, whatever, you know, piques your curiosity, whatever makes you feel comforted. Like, honestly, you can go a million ways with the world's greatest questions. You can turn to religion, or you can oppose it, or you can do, you know, whatever you want.
And because there's no right answer, you can believe, exactly, because there is no right answer, so you can believe whatever the hell you want, whatever makes you feel comforted. No one can tell you that is wrong, because there is no right or wrong. You just do you, and you believe what you want to believe, and at the end of the day, that's it. Just don't try to throw it on someone else and make it their problem.
True, yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'm gonna start reading some of the responses from our Instagram poll. And I basically just asked, what are some ways that your loved one reaches out to you, you know, from the, should I say, next life or afterlife? So this person says, finding dimes, a sign that a loved one who's passed on is looking out for you. Yeah, that's definitely a popular one. I think dimes. This person says, my dad makes appearances in my dreams. Yes, just like we were talking about. On special occasions like my birthday. Oh my god,
imagine.
That's really special.
Yeah, that is really special, because I think for a lot of people, it's like you can't really predict or like pinpoint when these dreams happen. Totally. So like the fact that they happen on your birthday, that's like really good. I mean, really amazing and special, I think. So special. And definitely feels like a sign, because you're like, okay, he clearly wanted to visit me tonight on my special day.
That's so special. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, the next person said, whenever I'm having a hard day, one of my dad's songs come on.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. And
like does her dad make music, or like maybe one of her favorite songs, her dad's songs?
I have no idea, but maybe like one of his favorite songs, or maybe he's a musician. But either way, it's comforting.
That's amazing. I think a couple signs that my mom always gives me is, you know, I don't know if every single time it's from her directly. You know, I know that your loved ones can be kind of like your guides through life. You know, when people say they see angel numbers, they say it's from their spirit angel or their spirit guide and stuff, which can be someone in your life who's passed on, but, you know, I don't know, who knows. But my mom's birthday was November 11th, so 11/11.
Right.
And she also died on the 11th day. So 11, every time I see 11/11, and I do see it a lot of places. Like when I went to Spain specifically, I was really depressed and sad there and anxious, and I was seeing 111, like, oh my god, and I think that's the most I've ever seen it, and it was like blatant, like I was only seeing that. But other times, like when I do see, you know, 111 or 11/11, of course I think of her immediately. I think, you know, that's the thing I see most often. But as far as like really blatant coincidences, I've had maybe like a couple. And now they're all tattoos. You know, but yeah, it'd be like that. Yeah, like I took one of my mom's rings from her jewelry box when I first went to start collecting her belongings, and I honestly had never seen this ring before, but it was so beautiful, and it had like this little angel on it and this little cherub. And then the same day that I took it, I started walking around the city. I was in Montreal, which is a city I had never been to before, and so I was kind of lost, but we were like looking for a pharmacy or something, and I just choose this random street and this random building to walk into, and it was literally this exact angel on the plaque that I had an hour before it picked up this ring.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I was like, guys, it was the exact angel. And it had nothing to do with the store or even the building. Like, I don't know why this building had this plaque of this exact angel on it. I took a picture of it because I was like, maybe it's something. I looked it up. I tried to look it up. There was no explanation for why this angel was on this building. But, you know, like, those types of things. I'm like, oh, my mom's here. Like, she's watching and all that stuff. And so if I do see angels like that around, like, I always think that might be a sign. I'm trying to think of maybe some other ones. I mean, there's been so many. I wish I kind of wrote them down. But they just come back in and out of my brain.
I literally can't think of anything right now off the top of my head.
I always see, like, license plates, too, I think. Like, I think I see her initials in places, too. I don't know. I kind of start to, like, think everything is a sign. Like, my brain wants it to be a sign, so it will seek it out.
Right.
That's definitely, I'm guilty of that. Okay, there's one more I can read. Let's see. Okay, the last person said, ooh, their sign is blue butterflies. It was our symbol of hope, and now they appear on rough days. Love that.
That's so nice.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Butterflies is also a really popular one.
Yeah.
I think another thing to say about signs is, like, when you get to talk to your loved one before they pass away, a lot of people often say, like, oh, they told me to look for them in a butterfly or look for them in a hummingbird, or they're going to come back as a caterpillar, and every time I see a caterpillar or a certain bird, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's so special because you have your one thing that you can really know for sure. And, you know, I do have to admit that I envy that a little bit. Yeah. Because I just be making random things my own signs. You know, I never thought that my mom would pass away suddenly like that, and I never really know what she would have chosen to be her thing, you know. I know that she has favorite flowers and favorite birds, and, you know, the thing with the ring that I just said, yeah, like, I can say that those, but, like, I do feel like I gaslight myself sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, you just think everything is a sign.
Because it comes from a place of, like we said, vulnerability, and you're just like...
It's, like, just sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's it.
Yeah. That's everything for this episode. Hope you guys...
We're a little somber now.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the existential unraveling that we just did for you. But I don't want to leave you guys feeling...
No, it's not. Listen, every single one of our episodes is a heavy topic.
Yeah.
And that's why we probably have, like, low energy towards the end of our episodes. We start like, hey, guys. And then now we're like, all right, time to have a drink. But, you know, this is, like, why we created this show. Like, is it a show? Should I call it a show?
It's a show.
It's a talk show, okay?
It's production.
Yeah, you know, like, every single one of these conversations is hard. Every time me and Yako leave the studio, we are so drained, and we have to, like, sit and, like, just be like, okay.
Decompress.
Like,
dude, you guys should see the way we are, like, throwing our headphones off after.
The minute the recording is, we know what, we should make a compilation of that.
Yeah,
we are going to make a compilation
of that. We're going to make a compilation of how we react after.
So I hope you don't feel as tired listening as we do talking about it.
Yeah, and if you do, you know what, sometimes it is good to just sit and talk about these things.
Of
but
course.
also at the end of the day, like, there is no right or wrong, so.
Of course.
If you feel bad right now, let yourself feel bad.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be forever.
It's not going to be forever, exactly. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we hope you stay tuned for future episodes. If you're watching us on YouTube or on a video version, make sure to check out our other channels, like on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Or and our Instagram, follow us.
Yes, our Instagram.
And then we also have the Facebook group where we started for young grieving adults. So if you're a fellow young grieving adult, please join the Facebook group if you're feeling alone. We don't want you to feel that way at all because we felt that way. So that's why we started the group, so we can get into that group talk a little bit,
and
chat.
We're just becoming friends, like a little small community of, grievers in their 20s or, just young grievers overall. So check out our Instagram and click the link in our bio to find that group.
Also, just want to shout out one more thing. We do have another thing called Feature Your Loved One, and if you have a fellow loved one that has passed and you want to submit your person on Google Form, we have a little link for that as well, and we're posting one. We're going to try to post one once a week, one person a week. We just did our first feature too, so please, if you're interested and want to share more about your loved one, we know it's hard to like verbalize their whole and put into words their whole life and legacy and go through pictures, but it is a healing process. If you're ready for that, please feel open to take that invitation.
We'd love to see you here.
Thank you.
Bye guys, see you next week.